Hi guys, my name is Dan Wellman. Welcome to the Pro Front-End Workflow course. In this course we're going to look at some of the tools, techniques and practices that any modern full-time front-end developer should be using and why using them helps. Some of the things that we'll look at, like Node, Grunt and Yeoman, are aimed mostly at JavaScript developers. Other things like source control, unit testing and Scrum can be found in many different software development environments, including but not restricted to the front end. People used to think that JavaScript was easy, that it wasn't a real programming language. Luckily, over the last few years this has largely changed, and JavaScript is given the props it deserves as a fully fledged, powerful and expressive programming language. Now that we're using it in many cases as the backbone of entire development projects, we need to focus on workflow. Writing good applications with JavaScript is hard, and that's why a solid workflow is so essential. The days of cracking open a simple text editor to write the majority of our front-end code are long gone. We'll start out by looking at the foundation of any software development project: source control. Some kind of source control system is essential for any team that is collaboratively working on the same code. Without it, your project is not going to get off the ground, period. Even sole developers working on their own will benefit from a robust source control system where a snapshot of the project at any point in time can be revisited. Another essential these days is Node.js, which we'll cover in Lesson 3. You may not want to actually develop server-side JavaScript, but you're still going to need Node to run things like Grunt. So we'll cover what Node actually is, how to install Node.js itself as well as Node plugins, and how to use it. Hot on the heels of Node, we'll also take a look at Yeoman, which rolls several great projects into one: Yo, Grunt and Bower. 3 great tools that will improve any workflow. While these tools are all individual and can be used separately, we'll see how Yeoman bundles them up into a unified workflow tool that gives us more than just the sum of its parts. We'll look at the importance of writing clean code and what clean code looks like. We'll see how beginning with a strong foundation of sensible best practices leads to a coherent and unified system that is easier to maintain over the life of the application. Other essential practices like TDD, Scrum, and automated code quality testing will also be discussed. Browser detection and the support of a wide range of browsers with different features and capabilities can be problematic, especially when particularly old versions of a certain browser need to be supported. We'll see how Modernizer can take over the burden of browser detection for us by not focusing on the browser at all, but by focusing on what features the browser supports instead. Structuring code well is important, so we'll also take a look at RequireJS to see how to create a modular and scalable architecture. Not strictly related to JavaScript, but ways of keeping HTML more manageable will also be covered. We'll get to see the beauty of a good HTML templating framework. If you're aspiring to be a JavaScript developer, the tools and techniques shown in this course are probably the minimum set of skills that you're going to need to make it as a pro in today's marketplace. None of the things that we'll cover are completely bleeding edge new. Some things, like source control systems, Scrum, and clean code practices, have been around for decades. Other things like the Jasmine framework, RequireJS, Node and Grunt have been on the scene for a few years at least. Although the trendiest and most cutting-edge startups may have moved on from some of these tools, many of them are still making their way into the mainstream corporate world and will be around for some time to come. And besides, the skills learnt by using these tools will be with you for many years to come. The tools that implement the practices are sure to change, but the underlying reasons for using them will not. If you've watched any of my other courses, you'll know that I usually like to structure the course around some complete artifact or widget that we build over the entire course. So we get to learn all of the ins and outs of what the course is focusing on, as well as ending up with a fully functioning application at the end of it. This course is slightly different, however. Although we will be looking at some code examples throughout the course, we aren't going to build a complete thing. The topics we'll cover are simply too wide to be able to do this. So in this lesson we got acquainted with the tools and processes that we'll be covering over the rest of the course. In the next lesson we'll make a start on our workflow journey by taking a look at the distributed source control system Git. Thanks for watching.